Hello, everyone. This is Apostle Babe Linda James, your favorite apostate. And I tell you this every single week because if I can repeat this over and over and over again, then it is my hope that I will brainwash you and convince you that I am your favorite apostate. I have Matthew with me again this week, and I had an article I wanted to show you about a man in Alaska that was arrested. So I'm looking it up in my files now. And it's one of those things that when we do hear about it, it's good to hear because unfortunately perpetrators will get by with things much longer than they need to. So I'm still looking for it. I should have had it open, but I didn't. And it's something that came out this week. Here it is. So this is about a man indicated for sex crimes during time as church leader. Okay. I'm going to open this up and read it to you. Okay. It says, I believe it's Kiani or Kenai Kenyai man indicted for sex crimes during time as church leader. This came out October 31st, 2025 by the AlaskaWatchman.com. On October 30th, a Kennel grand jury indicated 45-year-old Aaron Scott Merritt on multiple counts, charging him with sexually abusing 4 girls between the ages of 5 and 14 who were congregants of the, I'm just going to call it KINA, Kingdom Hall of Jehovah's Witnesses. According to the Alaska Department of Law, the sexual abuse took place over a 4-year period between 1998 and 2002, when Merritt served as a ministerial servant in the church. Merritt was charged with 6 counts of sexual assault in the first degree, 1 count of sexual assault in the second degree, 4 counts of sexual abuse of a minor in the first degree, 8 counts of sexual abuse of a minor in the second degree, and 1 count of sexual abuse of a minor in the third degree. Initially, there was 1 instance of abuse reported to the police department in 2002. However, investigators were unable to compile sufficient evidence to support prosecution at that time. Since then, new information and evidence, including additional victim reports, led to the case being reopened and investigated by the police department in 2021. The Department of Law Offices of Special Prosecutions presented the case to the grand jury. This arrest is the result of persistence and determination by our investigators, said David Ross of the police department. Even after 2 decades, we remain committed to pursuing justice and holding individuals accountable for their actions, no matter how much time has passed. The police department expressed sincere gratitude to the victims for their patience, strength, and willingness to come forward, even decades later. Their courage in sharing their stories was instrumental in this case, the department noted. If convicted at trial, Merritt faces a maximum sentence of up to 99 years of imprisonment. He was arrested on October 30th and will be arraigned on Monday, November 3rd, which has already passed. The investigation remains active and ongoing. The police department encourages anyone who may have additional information or who believes they may have been a victim, to contact the police department, and it has the phone number here. It also has an area for comments, I think. And I remember looking at the comments. Yes, okay. I'm going to go into the comments here. There's 19 comments now. The first one, which was October 31st, 2025. Thank you for honest reporting. Keep up the great work. And then somebody else named Kay Hamilton, which sounds like somebody I mentioned in the article, I think. It says, I wish this article would have made clear that he was completely removed from the congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses after an internal investigation had been done, and he never was allowed to return. Just prior to the victim of coming forward in 2002. And then somebody with the name V, just the letter, replies and says, does that really matter though? The facts are still the same. I'd be concerned about children. This man assaulted instead of being worried about the article affects the reputation of the church. So this person just called this dude out. They were like, what are you even talking about? Next comment. Yeah, and you're looking the wrong way with your, he's calling them binoculars, but he's saying bioculars. The next person is RC. So in your world, a person isn't concerned about the children if she is also concerned about a more truthful media tempting only part of the whole story. Get a good grasp on your pearls, because in the reality outside your world, many people can be concerned about multiple threats and take action against them simultaneously, reporting on the actions taken by the church when the crime was committed, instead of merely leaving that part out and leaving the question, what did the church do about this? 23 years later, is irresponsible reporting and said it matters. Now, the next one is by Sarah. The elders never did right by reporting the abuse to proper authorities. Instead, they asked humiliating and inappropriate questions to victims and then discredited them because of the two-witness rule. The fact that those elders aren't facing legal repercussions for hiding this crime is insane. And then this K person, Hamilton, is replying, I was the one who came forward, and I also am the one who went to the police in 2002. The two-witness rule is biblical, and it's also the same standard that the judicial system uses. That's why they didn't do anything when I came forward 22 years ago. It's words versus words with no proof, meaning their word against somebody else's word, right? With no proof. People, unfortunately, make false accusations at the time, and I'm grateful that they investigated thorough enough that the congregation disciplined him when the law didn't. Okay. Next one is from someone named Gary. The two-witness rule is a pretext. Reporting to the police a crime has nothing to do with the biblical rule, and they know it. Not reporting to the police for the same reason as the Catholic Church scandal and others, to keep it out of media spotlight and interfere with their religious proselytizing effect. So this person, Gary, seems to know what's going on. Okay. Next person is JM. JM says, look up JWCSA on the internet. It appears that legal repercussions are happening now. So that's a very good comment there, because those that are going to read this They might actually go and Google JW space CSA and see what comes up. The next person, Kelly. What is the point? These girls trusted the elders to protect them, but instead, they further traumatized them. I'm curious what questions they are trained to use for the rapist and molester. And I'm going to say the alleged rapist or molester. So this is a good question. What kind of questions does the alleged perpetrator get asked? Now, the next person's name is Malibu. I grew up in this congregation, and this treatment is ongoing and prevalent. The man in the lead, um, over, and okay, the man hid the things the younger men do in the hall. They blame victims, especially the women, and ask extremely personal and inappropriate questions to the minor victims for their own investigations, not with the police. They make up their own minds if the victims deserve justice, which is absolutely vile. This man got to live a full life with a marriage and his own children, while his victims grew up in fear and ashamed. I hope his victims fully get peace and justice, but I wish nothing good for this person or the men that stood by him and covered up his disgusting behavior. At any time, they could have gone to the police. They chose not to. I hope this is the first of many men and women to be penalized who cover these disturbing animals and outcast the victims. I'm grateful that they finally got justice. I only wish they got it sooner. Before any active members of Jehovah's Witnesses think I'm being distasteful, if your organization was the truth, would the men leading you have done this? These are the same men giving talks, giving shepherding calls, and encouraging you while shunning victims and allowing sexual abuse, domestic abuse, to be tolerated. This isn't an act of God, which is with a lowercase g. It's an act of man. The men you listen to on the stage teach you how Jehovah wants you to live your life. This isn't a question of religion or faith. It's a question of morality. The next person's name is Kelly. Most patriarchal religions are sexually entitled, and the JWs are very guilty of lifetime damage to female victims. It should be noted that until this fall, JWs discouraged higher education. So they're talking about this fall as in this season fall. Discouraged higher education. Not one of them, JW men, have any higher education to be qualified to deal with female victims. They do far more damage than good. And then Kay Hamilton is making another comment. I honestly think the truth matters. I also think that the wake of how often these tragedies occur in today's society are completely covered or continued by religious organizations. It's good to know that some congregations, not just Jehovah's Witnesses, but other cases too, really do try to do the right thing. It's easy to always be negative with what we see in the world and what we experience, but sometimes it's nice to see bits of sunshine in the news, like hearing that the right outcome was had in a situation like this. His actions were wicked. Trust me, I know firsthand. And if I wasn't worried about the victims, I wouldn't have come forward 22 years ago and then ripped open the wound again in 2021 when I was informed the police lost the recording of my original report. So I had to reveal it all. And again in 2025, the investigators and prosecutors have worked tirelessly for the outcome of justice. but it's nice to know that some justice was had when I came forward 22 years ago and he was expelled. These are my feelings on the matter, and I respect that others feel differently. I just want any and all survivors of this man, whether the abuse happened 25 years ago or 2 weeks ago, that they are not alone. And and there are people out here ready to help your voice be heard. The next comment is from someone with the letter E. Thank you for your courage in reporting this. This has been a problem since his early childhood. I'm assuming they're speaking of the alleged perpetrator. He lived across the street from me, and I knew his parents as teenagers. The next comment is from somebody with the letter B. Kay, thank you for your bravery and courage in doing the right thing. The two-witness rule this religion holds on to is ridiculous, though. Who would ever perpetrate sexual abuse in front of a witness? To discount an allegation or to not act based on this rule is unchristian and flawed. Kay, you did the right thing so many years ago when you went to the police. Regardless of what a religion does, any situation involving sexual abuse or assault should be immediately reported to the police. Some people get being religious mixed up with being Christian. You are absolutely a good Christian. May God bless you with peace and happiness. Okay. Next comment is from Kelly. Thank you for your bravery. Could you tell us the questions they asked you? Were you punished? Probation or whatever? Then the next comment is by someone with the initials KM. I'm sorry you had to go through all that. Thank you for standing up. Next comment is by someone named Ben R. Hey Hamilton, I'm so sorry to hear you had to relive your trauma recently and that you suffered abuse from a brother that you and your family undoubtedly trusted. But the worldly justice system does not only use a two-witness rule, all accusations of abuse are investigated by police, even if only one accuser comes forward. The two-witness rule is only a Jehovah's Witness policy and allows abusers and pedos to get away with vile acts. It's simple. The Watchtower needs to change their rules. Any case of abuse that is reported to an elder should immediately be reported to police to allow police to investigate, period. Next comment is by Hillary Jones. I think that any action taken and how a CSA, child sexual abuse, is handled is often down to the individual elders of each congregation, regardless of the deeply flawed advice from the governing body on how to handle such matters. When you have fathers and wise men as elders, they will use their own judgment through discussion. Unfortunately, my experience with elders has been they have acted cruelly and without feeling many decades ago. Now I am 72 years old, and I have left the Jehovah's Witnesses for other reasons during the COVID debacle and how they handled it. My reasons are very many. I have experienced the odd kind elder and his wife, whose treatment of me at a traumatic time in my life was very supportive. My late husband was an elder, and he was an honest and conscientious man. So these are the comments along with the article. And the reason I wanted to read you these comments is because these are people from this article. They're claiming to be part of this investigation. And I think it was really good that in the comments, one of them said, the two-witness rule is something that the courts use. And then somebody else said, listen, They don't have to have two witnesses to start an investigation. That's just not the case. And let me share something with you as far as myself personally. I have put somebody in jail that went after one of my daughters, not a Jehovah's Witness situation. Okay. And I basically hunted that mofo down, sent somebody to his house in the middle of the night to give him the message to leave my daughter alone. Plus, I went to the police, and I was very concerned that she might have to, be questioned by the police department and maybe have to go on the witness stand and all this stuff. But the evidence that I brought them was a good amount of evidence. And what it turned out to be was, you might have heard of something like third strike. By the time he was coming after my daughter, that was his third strike. So he went to prison for 3 years because that was his third strike. So this was not his first attempt to go after someone. I did not need to have a second witness to report this guy. Okay? This is what elders will tell people when they make a report. And what goes on in this organization is they claim clergy penitent privilege, which means if somebody makes a confession to them, they can keep it confidential. And that's clergy penitent privilege, which is a canon law that the Catholic Church also upholds. But let me explain something. A report is different than a confession. So if somebody comes to somebody in leadership in their church and makes a report, that's very different than the alleged perpetrator being asked and them giving a confession. So the argument that they need two witnesses at this moment when they make a report is inappropriate. That should not show up at this time. That should show up later if they want to apply it. A report should be reported to the police because elders are not equipped to do the kind of investigations that people within the law in the police departments or whatever they're called wherever you're at have been trained to do. I've heard numerous times that the alleged victims are asked inappropriate questions, and the paperwork that gets turned in or the records that they keep, there's actually a question on there that asks, was the minor a willing participant? That should not be there either, and it has been taken away. When someone is a minor, they are not a willing participant. That means that they have been abused. Okay? Even if the minor thought that they were being cooperative and wanted to engage in this activity, because they're a minor, they don't have an adult frame of mind. So if there's a report made, the elders should fall under the category of mandated reporters, which is what you'll find many different groups will go to court to try to have happen. In Washington, this did happen about 4 months ago. Mandated reporting passed. And this was after 3 years of something. It took 3 years to get it to that point. So if an elder or a pastor, some other church, or a priest from the Catholic Church, if they hear somebody report of this abuse, they're supposed to report it to the police. Don't let them confuse someone making a confession with someone making a report. They're two different things. Okay? If a priest is in one of those rooms at the Catholic Church and someone comes to them and says, this is what I've done, that's a confession. And there are times when people are on their deathbed, okay? And they might have clergy show up to them on their deathbed in the hospital. and they might confess these things. The priest would keep this confidential. Okay, that's clergy penitent privilege. It's that does not apply when somebody shows up and says, my daughter or my son was abused, or the person that's the alleged victim says, this is what happened to me. That's making a report. A report is different than a confession. And when you go to local police departments and stuff, they've been trained, okay? And there is an opportunity for there to be different things that are taken from a situation that could show up in court as being a second witness or a confirmation of DNA, if you get what I'm talking about. So if that happens and then soon after a report is made and then they're stalled because they don't have a second witness, a person that was actually there, then that opportunity to get DNA doesn't get to happen. Now, does it? So getting the DNA can be traumatizing too, but there are people that are there that are professional. They are often women that will talk to a young lady. They know that, a burly man, a big man asking them questions is not a situation where a young lady will be opening up to explain what happened. It's too embarrassing. So they know that having a woman trained to make sure that they approach this alleged victim in a way that they give them comfort, give them reassurance, and let them know that they are believed, makes it so much easier for an alleged victim. They are also trained in understanding how some people make up stuff, okay? That's why you'll hear stories about, they kept asking me the same question. That's because they're trying to catch them in a lie. Okay? If it's the same story every time, it implies the truth. So they're also giving the alleged the alleged victim comfort and letting them know that they're heard, but they're also asking questions to find out if they're lying. And usually in a situation like this, automatically the family is considered the first people that would have been the alleged perpetrators. That's just standard procedure. That's just how it goes. And you do what you got to do to jump through the hoops to cooperate, Yeah, so the way things are is deceptive when you have heard these stories. We're given an explanation that doesn't apply to when somebody makes a report. So just know that that's been something that's been presented to us inaccurately. And I will make a point of adding that, which I did not do last time, with something else I said I was going to add. And that is my bad. I'm sorry, guys. I need to get better at that.
What's that, Linda James?
When I say I'm going to post a link in the description box under something I talked about, I've flaked and haven't done it. So I need to get better at that. Okay, so I'm opening up the chat to see who's all there. Hello, Dallas. Good to see you. And we've got, oh my God, Bob Roberts. I've been thinking about you lately, darling. Hello, hello, hello. Mwah. Good to see you. And Dallas says, even when my time is limited or will be getting up early, I still like to drop by briefly and greet y'all. That is so cool. You're one of the coolest greeters, Dallas. I really appreciate the way you breathe, people. And Dehydrated Nurse, just finished listening to your earlier show. Right on. Yeah, Rick called me earlier today and said that Dick Borghi and Constance wasn't able to do the show and asked me if I wanted to fill in. And I said, yes, I would be happy to. So we got to talk about different alternative things we could do for the holidays. And hello, Gro, it's good to see you too. Yeah, so I wanted to bring that up because it had a successful ending. I personally don't picture this person getting 99 years. But whatever the police department has done, it looks like it's a pretty good, thorough research that they've done on this person.
Right.
And when you think about it, if there's a report made, and this is something I've learned from Barbara Anderson, 70% of cases of CSA is done by family of some sort, okay? An uncle, a father, a grandfather, and rarely, but it does happen, there'll be women that do this as well. So, and then there's other people. In the case with my daughter, it was not family, it was somebody from the neighborhood, just somebody that ran into her on the city bus and went after her. And that's somebody, so I went to the police with what he was doing. And they ended up being able to press charges on him, and he went to jail for 3 years because that was his third strike. So what bothers me a lot is when they say if you don't have a second witness, our hands are tied. Then the alleged victim is often being sent home with the alleged perpetrator. And from what I have discovered, and I could be wrong, but basically when an elder does their own investigating, they simply go to that person that's the alleged perpetrator and ask, did you do this? These are some accusations. Is this true? And if they say no, that's all they do. That's as forward as they can go. That's what their investigation is. Did you do it? And they say no. Okay. End of investigation. This is simply what I've heard. Hello, Purple. Good to see you. Hi, John. And then if they do confess and say, yes, they did, that's the part that they don't have to report. Okay? Because that falls under clergy penitent privilege, meaning if a congregation member confesses to someone in authority that they have done something like this, a CSA situation, they get to keep that as privilege, and they don't have to report it because of the clergy penitent privilege. Okay, what elders are told is that it used to be called the lawyer department of the organization in New York. And why? So that you can be guided as an elder, and we will let you know what state you are in here in the United States, whether you're supposed to be a mandated reporter or not. And for the most part, they don't have to report. So to me, that's simply giving the organization a heads up and helps the organization be prepared in case it does go to court. But it also makes me wonder, from back in the day today they call the service department. It used to be they called the lawyer department. If something goes on with your lawyer, they can keep things confidential as well. So that has made me wonder if back in the day when they called that lawyer, the lawyer department in the organization, could that be kept confidential? Okay, Purple says, actually, doesn't even need to be a congregation member. You can walk into a random Catholic church, walk in the anonymous booth, confess to a priest, and unloaded your guilt. Yeah. There's a little heart in front of the word. So that's where you can unload your guilt. Yes. And that priest is supposed to, keep the sins that you've committed during that week or whatever it is confidential. These are confessions in confession booths, and they'll give you certain things to do, which in actuality are kind of, well, they're ritualistic, and they believe that it kind of makes things right. So they follow the directions, and it's actually helpful to do ritualistic things. It's even though it sounds kind of pagan, when you do ritualistic things, it can be very helpful for the psyche, for your brain. The Catholic priest will pray over you to forgive you, to forgive your sins. So this sounds like, why does a priest forgive our sins when it's supposed to be Jesus or God that forgives our sins? It's kind of that way with the organization too, right? So if there's a gross sin that's committed, or if there's a sin that, you might have done 3 times, then that's documented as a practice. Okay. You're struggling with something, you've done it 3 times, now it's a practice, it's time to disfellowship you because you haven't made sure to not do it anymore. To get reinstated, what I've heard elders say is, well, Jehovah has probably forgiven you by now, but you are under the understanding that during that time you are removed, which used to be called disfellowship. One is dead in the eyes of God, that God doesn't even recognize you as one of his children. This is Watchtower theology. So if Armageddon happens to hit during that time of being disfellowshipped, you know that you will die during Armageddon. And part of the Watchtower theology also is anyone that dies during that time of Armageddon has no hope of a resurrection at all. So until you're reinstated, you have no chance for eternal life within Watchtower doctrine. Purple says the Catholic Church is very pagan. Let's just call them saints instead of demagogues. This is very fascinating because the organization, it was an Unawaken. I think we were talking about it. Gosh, maybe the show I did earlier today. But yeah, I think it was. We were talking about the organization came out with an article asking, were you excommunicated? And that's very similar to being disfellowshipped, which is what we used to call being removed from the congregation, right? And in that article, which is in an Awake magazine, it speaks of being excommunicated as something that's pagan. So 5 years later or so, the organization takes up disfellowshipping people, right?
Yep.
What's interesting is I don't recall ever hearing that if somebody gets excommunicated from a Catholic church, if the other people from the church are supposed to shun them. Would any of you previous Catholics know this? I've never heard that along with being excommunicated from a Catholic church, the congregants are also expected to not speak to them again. But the reason I brought up the article is because the organization explained that when the Catholic Church excommunicates somebody, that is a pagan act. Purple. Fun fact. I love it when she starts things with fun fact. In the Catholic Church, it is easier to get excommunicated than it is to get them to remove your name from their members. Register. Interesting. Oh, that's fascinating.
So, Linda James, got something to talk
Yes.
about with excommunication in the Catholic Church, because it's a kind of nuanced question. So I don't know if you'd like a few comments on that.
Sure.
So yeah, it's quite misunderstood because historically excommunication carried intense social penalties. All right, so as JWs, we can realize, oh, okay, yeah, social penalties, yeah, we know about that. But the modern Catholic canon law actually approaches it very, very differently. So it's not meant to be a social boycott or a declaration that someone is damned. It's a, how do they say it? Canonical penalty. So it's a medicinal one. It's intended to alert a baptized person that they've placed themselves outside of full communion with the church by a grave offense. So yes, they can have apostasy, they can have heresy, there can be a schism or a division or a desecration of the Eucharist. That's another one. Abortion is a big thing, procuring abortion.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes they call that a censure. And that's meant to prompt repentance and reconciliation. Why? What is the penalty that happens to a person in Catholicism? What's the worst thing that can happen? Well, you've got fiery, burning hell, right?
Yes.
That's it. Yeah, it's the worst picture of Dante's Divine Comedy. It's the devil eating.
I'm picturing windmills.
Yeah, well, you've got the devil there in the depths of hell eating souls. This is the
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So for a person now who's been indoctrinated with that, this isn't any good. So look, in that situation with excommunication, a person can't receive the wafer or the sacraments.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, no wine for you. And of course, they can't exercise ministerial roles in the liturgy or the governance of the church. So certain offices or duties in the church, no, that's off limits. It's invalid. But the church doesn't forbid ordinary Catholics, universal church or universal idea, from speaking or associating with someone who's excommunicated. That might have been true in the older law, but not now. Remember, JW was very quick to condemn Catholicism for that, which is
yes.
the
And I remember in that article they didn't bring up shunning.
Yeah. So in the Middle Ages and even up to as recently as 1917 Code of Canon Law, there was a distinction between minor excommunication, and here's a distinction, major excommunication. So the minor, what's the difference between the minor and the major? So the minor excommunication was you restricted with the sacraments, but not social life. Major excommunication is complete exclusion, including social avoidance. So yes, at that time there was this forbidding to communicate with the person or even speaking or sharing meals. They would be censored. So that's the imagery of that people often remember, that the outcast, nobody talks to them. They are symbolically dead, and we go, oh man, that rings a bell in JW, because that's exactly how that idea works. And as you rightly pointed out, that was hypocritical. So today is excommunication. The idea is to move a person towards reconciliation, not isolation. Why you avoid the fiery depths of hell and eternal damnation. Unless anybody knows more about it. I think Purple's commenting. Hell is really not described much in the Bible. Most how Christians think of it come from Dante's Inferno. Oh, the engravings. Yeah.
Wow. Both of you guys are talking Dante's Inferno. I need to read that.
The Divine Comedy. Oh, Purple's chirping. Biden was Catholic and forbidden from taking the sacrament because he spoke in favor of legalized abortion. Yes, that takes us to 2019, New York, when they could abort full term, right? Is that correct?
That's
Purple?
actually was said, but it's not. That's not the case. From everything I've come to learn, that's not the case. It's an accusation. I have not seen proof of that, and it's an accusation that's pretty horrid. I mean, yeah.
So that was media blowing it up beyond what it actually was. Is that right?
Yes, full term abortions sound incredibly horrid. Someone can have a premature baby at a certain time, and the baby could be even 8 pounds and still survive with a few things of, maybe an incubator and a few other steps of special care. So to me, if a child was born, you can drop off a baby at any fire station, any police department. There's certain safe drop-off places that you won't get in any trouble for doing that. A parent that, maybe a minor that had a baby or something. There's things that are set up in such a way that there doesn't have to be a lot of, cases of hearing about infants being thrown in the trash. That's, things we've heard. People don't have to be ashamed, is what I'm saying.
Linda James, there's a few takeaways from your... Sorry, I beg your pardon.
I was just saying, I don't believe that's the case from everything I've seen. Even when Trump and Kamala were having a debate just before the presidency was chosen. Trump was implying that was in fact what happens with abortions, that there's full-term abortions. And the person that was monitoring them both made it very clear that that does not happen. So he was corrected by the people that lets them know whose turn it is and when their time is up and stuff like that. I forget what they're called. But they brought that up right at that moment, saying that that's not the case at all.
We've got comments from Purple and John. They're chirping in the comments section. Can I read them?
Sure. Yes, please.
Purple says abortions past the first trimester are rarely done unless the fetus has already died or is putting the mother's life at risk.
Yes.
And then John says the church canon laws have already addressed the fact of CSA and removal of priests. And there are legal procedures now because of outrage.
There's legal procedures on getting rid of priests from Catholic churches? Is that what you just read?
He says the church canon laws have already addressed the fact of CSA and removal of priests, and there are legal procedures now. And he adds, because of outrage. And John says, yes, he confirms it.
Okay.
Linda James, there's a few takeaways that I got from your opening report there. You said that you've got the link, but it was about police acting as witnesses, with this two-witness rule that's often misapplied, right? Where you're supposed to take one.
There's circumstances after a situation where DNA can be taken from the alleged victim. That
Yes.
DNA can act as a second witness, according to the organization.
So I like what you said. This is not a confession, it's an investigation. There's a differentiation.
No, it's actually a report. They're saying we won't do an investigation. And I'm saying that the elders are saying, well, we're not going to do an investigation unless we have two witnesses. So they just block it right then and there. So a report is different than a confession. Confession is something that they say we have to keep private. But when somebody makes a report, elders, priests, whoever, should be mandatory reporters and report this so that those that are professional can take over and handle it.
Linda James, I've got a question. So the elders who are now conducting the investigation, don't they have a conflict of interest in doing that because of potential liabilities to the congregation?
I would think so. I would think so.
So already we don't have the necessary checks and balances there. If now the elders that are involved are scared about the implications that are coming to the congregation, or fearing that, the organization is going to get sued for damages, which is why there's this idea of make the branch prepared by reporting abuse, by getting hold of service desk, which would previously put you onto their legal department.
That's my theory. I'm not sure if that is the real reason. That's my theory.
I think your theory's got definite weight. It's got definite gravitas. What was the other point that came up? The Unification Church. The higher education thing was lessened or relaxed because of the incident with the Moonies. And what was it? That was the assassination, the presidential assassination or threat.
I remember when that happened. That was a big deal.
Is that right?
I'm not sure if that. What are you relating that to?
Well, in Japan, the Unification Church came under spotlight because, what is it? How do you produce a Manchurian candidate? How do you produce a mind-controlled assassin? It's pretty much similar to this MK Ultra kind of patterning, where you are creating sleeper agents through indoctrination within high-control religious societies. And in fact, that was the same kind of thing that was traced when there was attempts on Trump's life. Right. Have I got that right, or am I way off?
Possibly.
Okay.
I remember that the person that did the shooting of the victim, the person was the son of a mother who donated a lot of money. And the son was like, this is ridiculous. But I'm sure there's more to the story than mom was tithing too much to the church she was involved in.
Okay. So any case of abuse is reported. Why? Because the two-witness rule is often misapplied, because police are equipped to create the next witness through something like, you say, DNA samples or examinations, which now stand as the additional witness, which is often subtracted or circumvented, I would say deliberately, within a JW context that is often misapplying that two-witness rule.
I agree. If an alleged victim is encouraged not to go to the police, which we've been told over and over again, this does not happen, the alleged victims I've heard tell their testimonies, many of them said that they were discouraged to go to the police because it would drag Jehovah's name through the mud. And as a Jehovah's Witness, we are representatives of Jehovah, aka also known as a representative of the organization. So we feel responsible and to not want to give Jehovah a bad reputation. And that would discourage alleged victims from going to the police.
So let's get that one clear, because that sounds like coercion.
It does, yes. And then there's that whole we don't take our brother to court, if that was somebody within the congregation, right?
Okay. So, but then I'm now going to put it into JW context, because if the person has committed a sin through abuse, they've disassociated themselves through that abuse. So you're not taking your brother to court. You're taking a disassociated person to court, isn't it? I mean, that's how JW would argue it if it was on their side.
Yeah, that's definitely possible. That's like JW jurisdiction thinking. Yes.
Yeah. So that's
have to
the
do an
thing
investigation to confirm
right.
or get a confession out of the alleged perpetrator, right?
Yeah. So this is the thing that is not taught to the congregation, to think this way. It's not empowering. And that's why it's potentially coercive.
Yes.
Because you're now going in and you're saying, oh, well, now we've got a problem with one of the elders, or we've got a problem in the congregation. And yeah, it's not going further. Oh, do you have another witness? No, stopped, suppressed, and it becomes this coercion. And as Norway is framing it with the recent law change, this is psychological violence.
Shunning is, yes. Yes.
Yeah. So the shunning is, but the psychological violence happens when? Is it just at the point of shunning, or it's happening with the way that the misreporting is going on?
I haven't thought about it in that context, but it's definitely a cover-up of a crime. If that did in fact happen, it's more than a sin, which is what it used to only be called, a sin. It's a crime. So that's something we should take to the police.
So 2 witnesses are not needed for investigation. It's different to accusations. It's different to reporting, and very different, and should not be confused with a confession, which is when the clergy penitent privilege thing comes in, which again is misapplied.
I agree. When a child makes a report, or a minor, if there was another minor there, children are not considered good standing within the organization. So when they're saying that they need a second witness, it's not like it's the neighbor next door that might have seen through the window. No, it needs to be another Jehovah's Witness within good standing.
Right.
So that wouldn't be, maybe there is another child there. Maybe there was 3 more children in there. You know, if it's a peer of a child, they don't see that as a decent second witness.
Yeah, you mentioned that minors could be willing participants. It's still abuse. What is it called? Statutory rape. Why?
Yes.
Because they don't have an adult mind frame.
Yes. And, you know, young girls fall in love with older men. Young girls, they do get weary. They'll have a crush on an older man that gives them attention. They might think they're in love, you know?
All right.
But would be immaturity, of course. And an older man we expect an older man to know better.
Yeah. Well, there was a couple of stories. I don't know if the audience accepts these kind of stories, but there was a story of a priest that Rutger Hauer, the actor, was depicting in a film or the comic strip Sin City, where what was the story there? The terrible villain goes to do a confession to the Rutger Hauer character. I think the film was directed by Robert Rodriguez and Frank Miller. So it's this kind of shock horror, over the top graphic comic book movie where Rutger Hauer is playing this cardinal, and you've got this ritual killer, Kevin, and he's going to the cardinal, but he's not confessing. The cardinal's taking it as a confession. But what is actually happening with that character is he's boasting to the cardinal. But I think because it's this graphic story, this Sin City idea, it's showing the ludicrous nature in this ultra exaggerated way of what was happening. And so your cardinal is actually showing complicit nature, because it wasn't any kind of repentance. He wasn't going there and repenting to the cardinal. He's rather going there, and there's this awful fascination that's happening with this cardinal as well. And he sees the Kevin character as strangely holy or divinely inspired. So there's this whole distortion of what's happening in the church. So there's this graphic exaggeration. Then the other story I was thinking was George Lucas's THX 1138, where they step into these booths with this big picture of Zarathustra, or this merging of Buddha, Zarathustra, and Christ. And there's this type of confessional thing that's going on in this technocratic kind of white clinical society that they're living in. And there's no movement. It's just a static image of this Christ, Buddha, Zarathustra character. And there's a recording going on. And the voice that's behind the image is this very soothing, gentle, hypnotic voice that's called 0000. Yeah. And yeah, so the citizen kneels, he speaks and gets this pre-recorded response like, yes, you are a true believer. Blessings of the state, blessings of the masses, work hard, increase production. Again, it's one of these exaggerated, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sin
So
City
this whole-
sounds like, like comic books or something, right?
Yeah. It's exaggerated comic books, but I was just thinking about THX 1138. It's the booth becomes sacrament of control. It's unfortunately what's happened in this perversion with religion. Some will say, well, that was how religion was set up to begin with. But we're seeing that enter into the JW thing more and more as more people expose it and there's greater awareness. We're actually seeing that the whole idea looks like it's designed to protect against potential liabilities. So it's a commerce-driven.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's hard to fathom that too. It's because we don't want to believe that. We want to believe that what we've been told is true, and that is that the leadership abhors the CSA. There was a governing body member, I believe, Greenlace.
Oh yeah, Greenleys.
Yeah, so they sent him over here to California. They took him off of the governing body and sent him to California. And this seems to be the the technique of many different groups. They just move them around to protect them, and usually the whistleblowers will be discarded, which is what somebody that is a high on the chart of a narcissist, if you become in the way of their intentions, their plans, you are disposable. If you are no longer loyal, you are disposable.
Well, that's the gag order. That's the removal or the disfellowshipping. It's essentially the gag order. So your congregation can't talk and find out what happened. Exactly. Which again is a perversion of Matthew 18:15-35, because it should go to the city gates so that there's transparency.
Yes. The city gates would imply legal authorities, wouldn't it?
Yeah, or the law by the tribe, the greater tribe or society that's able to look on, because they choose their representatives to do the legal case. Well, of course, in Israel, that would be the tribe of Levi, which was set aside, but that was the choice of Israel. But I suppose in your modern Roman context, which is the system that we're under now, or democratic system, those are your elected officials, which comes from society. But society still has your checks and balances and saying, oh, well, let's see what the official's up to. Let's see if the official is conducting this thing correctly. In theory, that's what the democracy is supposed to be doing, right? Have I got that right?
What I believe. Yeah, that makes sense.
Ooh, comments coming in.
Yay.
Dehydrated. Can I read that one?
Yes, please.
Dehydrated knows any child that cannot be considered to give consent to sex should not be old enough to hold to their baptism contract. Yeah. Why? Because that's a captive situation.
Yes. I mean, we're not allowing minors to make contracts to buy homes or automobiles driving off the lot, or, because they're a minor. They're not equipped financially nor mentally to make a contract like that. And the organization makes a verbal contract with us. But another thing, think about this. Contracts is something that works both ways. And if we get baptized within this organization, what can we expect from the organization? I mean, we're supposed to give devout loyalty. We are to obey whatever is instructed of us through the governing body, which comes down through literature, through our elders. What can we expect from them, the organization?
Well, I got an answer for that, and I think Dallas might agree with me. The thing that you can expect is abuse.
That doesn't sound like a good contract, does it?
It doesn't, does it?
No, it doesn't. So when people sign contracts, they should be able to involve themselves within a contract and been given to where they can give a true consent. I'm at loss at the word that I'm wanting to find. Informed consent. I don't believe even adults within this organization at the time of baptism, when they say yes, that there is considered a verbal contract with the organization, along with your own personal commitment to God. There's that contract there. If you're not informed of everything that you're signing up for, that contract should not be allowed to remain. Like, you should not be still held up to that, under that contract. I mean, if you find out that you buy a car, you expect the payment to be $200 a month, and that's the way it is for quite a few months, and then all of a sudden they change it to $400. Why? Because they have new light. Do you think we're going to listen to Toyota or Chevron Chevrolet or Ford company, that they have new lights, so they're now
Well,
charging us twice as much. That
Well,
would
this is
not
one of
work.
those situations where you don't go towards the light. It's like a moth to the flame. Dehydrated nurse. Purple is responding to dehydrated nurse. Yes, no contract ban. No contract can be legally binding for anyone under 18 years.
Yes.
Okay. And then
Yes.
the contract is that for a lifetime of servitude and tithing you will be rewarded after you die.
Yes.
Oh, well, the interesting thing with JW is they say that the dead are not conscious of anything. So,
Yeah, and that's
okay.
true. They call that soul sleeping. And so we're supposed to get rewarded in the new system of things, or paradise, which right off the bat, we're going to be cleaning up a big mess, and burying a lot of bodies. Uh, you know, we're going to be pretty busy cleaning up the mess that was left from, well, whoever's was Jesus, whoever is Jesus's posse.
Yeah, who's been annihilated.
Yes. Yes.
John Marciano has chipped in. Mormons baptize at 8 years to enter the Aaronic priesthood, to note, which is different from Catholic infinite baptism,
Yeah.
which is a welcoming new birth called christening.
Yes. Like there's times when you might go to a church and you might see a dedication of your infant or your toddler to the Lord. That's not a baptism. That's not something that this child is going to be held to. It's done it with intention that, we're giving our son to the Lord. We're looking forward to our son being, aware of any kind of service within the church that they might be drawn to do. That's a dedication. It's not a baptism. It's not a contract within that person, with that person in that group. I believe it should be illegal for Jehovah's Witnesses to baptize under 18 years of age.
Okay.
That's
What does Dr. Hassan say about that? He wants to put a warning label like you get on cigarettes. Isn't it? That's what he wants to do.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense to me that for someone to make a commitment as a child that they're supposed to hold to their whole living existence. It just doesn't match up with our minds and how developed it is. John's
agreeing with you 100% there. I agree with Linda on the JW's baptism.
It's interesting. I'll hear somebody's testimony, and when I hear that they were approached by witnesses at 14 or 15 or 16, I'm like, what? It angers me. It angers me a lot. And that's such a impressive a time where teenagers are very impressionable.
So Linda James, the idea is to be following in Christ's footsteps. So what age was Christ baptized? 30? Is that the approximation?
That's right.
So
what Jesus waited till 30. Why are we?
And we just go, okay, well, baptize them. What's it, Stephen? Get them baptized as soon as possible. Are we actually consulting the scriptures, folks? Are we?
I don't think so. I think that what we're told is that when we become a certain age of accountability is what's used. And then we're told that we can't slide into the kingdom or the paradise on the coat tails of our parents or someone else that might have been somebody that gave you a Bible study or whatever, that it's our responsibility to get responsible and to get baptized.
Right.
And they say that's around 12 or 13, or some brothers or sisters say it's a different age, but it's all still underage. And like you said, the age of Jesus when he was baptized was the age of 30.
So there was this whole push because Armageddon was so close and children were never going to leave school because Armageddon was that close. But that's been plugged for how many years? I mean, Armageddon's
50.
been close for 140 years now and still counting.
Yeah, 75 was 50 years ago.
So this idea of let's baptize people for salvation, let's get them in because of that, well, it's losing impetus when you get up. How many years ago was it that Stephen Lett was saying, oh, we were in the last of the final part?
That was at the beginning of the pandemic, which was 2020.
So it's 5 years, almost 6.
Yes. And understandably so. That may have looked like it was, maybe the Great Tribulation was going to start,
All right. So final hours change to days change to weeks change to months change to years, to half a decade.
We just don't know the day or the hour. Yes.
To let's scrap it and put that in the new watchtower.
Which the governing body has stated a different message than we've always heard, which is the Great Tribulation or Armageddon might not happen within our lifetime. What?
Right.
Wait a minute,
Yeah.
what? I'm sorry,
I'd
that's
like
a different song and dance than I've heard all my life,
Sure. Well, I would like to actually see the raw, unfiltered AGM or annual meeting, because I see that they're bringing in the Eastern idea of the temple being the body, which was something we were not allowed to. In fact, that was an idea that we had, I know, in Zimbabwe 25 years ago. And whenever I mentioned it, that was off limits. So it's taken us 25 years to get there after all of these disciplinary actions. So I don't know if that's just what people are saying. I'm yet to actually hear the annual meeting, but I see that is the chatter and the buzz, that's the new light, the new blinding light.
I'm not sure where that was stated.
Yeah.
It probably was the annual meeting. But things,
I don't know.
Again, if we sign a contract for a car and then they change it and claim because we have a contract with a Toyota dealer or a Ford dealership, these are brand names of cars. They can't just tell us they've got new light and then increase our car payment to a double price. And we have to just go along with it because they said it's new light. We would have a problem with that within this contract of a car, buying a car on credit, right?
Right. So it's the sun rising and we see a shadow. The sun rises and we see a pole. The sun rises and we see a tree. The sun rises and we see fruit. But what's happening is the tree is moving over here in this new light. It's not this, this revealing process that's happening. It's this graphic major change to the landscape.
The light is getting brighter and brighter, which is Proverbs 18 or something. So Let's picture this. Let's picture a can of Diet Pepsi or regular Pepsi. If picture our light switch, we have a dimmer light switch and we can turn it gently and it gets brighter. The light in the room gets brighter and brighter. If we keep looking at the can of Pepsi, it should still be a can of Pepsi as the light gets brighter and brighter. It's not going to turn into a can of Orange Crush, which is the brand name of another soda. yes, it's still a soda, but it's a really different flavor. It's not going to turn into an orange crush. And then we bring the light switch up even more, and it turns back into a Pepsi can.
Or Dr. Pepper.
Okay, thank you. Yes, that's not reality of a light getting brighter and brighter, but that's what we were told when things such as receiving a organ transplant. First, it was okay, then it was not okay because it was a form of cannibalism. Then it's okay now. You know, that's very, very different. It does not, the light getting brighter and brighter would not change that belief system so much, right?
Purple says, when the same prophecy has been wrong for more than 100 times consecutively, it's time to give up.
Yes.
And
Yes.
Purple follows up, I made a contract to sell my soul to Satan, and all he did was complain about how twisted it was. I just pointed to where the contract said no backsies. And then, what is this Oregon transplant? Is the state going to become part of Canada?
Organ transplant?
It says Oregon transplant. I take it it's organ transplant, right? Oh, you know what? Purple's playing with words.
Oh, the state of Oregon is right up top next to Canada here in the United States. That's cute. That's funny. That's cute.
Got it, Purple.
Actually,
some of
Washington is above. Washington is.
Yeah, some of us have to catch up. We haven't had sleep yet.
So the you know, I don't think that we were given an informed consent, even adults, when we made a commitment to this organization. And again, a contract would give it's a two-way thing. Like even if somebody gets married, it's a contract between two people, right? So there's an expectancy of receiving something from their end too.
I'm looking at Purple's comment. Am I able to read this on your channel? I don't know. What will YouTube say? But anyway. Canada better take Minnesota first or I will be pissed.
That's where she lives, in Minnesota.
Oh, and then agreed. You were not informed of all the conditions of the contract before you were expected to sign it. Yeah, good point.
That's what I'm talking about. When we sit down and buy a Ford car, we've got this contract with a whole bunch of stuff that's going to take forever to read, but it's supposed to be giving us, an informed consent. Yeah. And where this really shows up in is in hospitals, like before an operation or something.
Oh, yeah, good point.
People sign things that they're given an informed explanation of what this operation might be or the care they're going to receive. They're given an informed consent, and it's the responsibility of the doctor or the hospital to inform them what's going to happen is the procedure we're going to take you through is going to go like this. So when they sign the paper, they're giving their consent after they were informed of what's going to happen. But in the organization, we don't know what's going to happen within the next 10 years. But we commit to just going along with it.
Well, that was the whole sense of urgency thing. Is and which is why it's called the street gang religion, because again, it's coercion at your door. If you don't listen to what we tell you about what we think reality is, then we're going to kill you. How about that? But we shall believe. Yeah.
But we shall what?
We shall benevolently extend mercy to you with our message of love.
And see,
You know,
even with the
and
game, we get community. We have a sense of identity. We have purpose. We have vision. We have a sense of like, this is our territory, right? This is our side of town. And when you think about it, the organization is its own nation, but we really don't have any land on Earth.
Well, yeah, because it's automaton society.
What does that word mean? The what is that
Robotic. You're all a bunch of clones. I hear it called JW.Borg, which is a reference to Star Trek's, all out of the same mold. Eh?
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, now I get you. And see, what does that imply? That implies that our own personality is not showing up anymore. We're all kind of acting without individuality, without personality. And if we keep having to be what the organization claims is the new personality, we don't get to be who we authentically are. We have to be somebody else to be approved of by the congregation, to be approved of by the elders, and to be approved of by Jehovah. That's not biblical, I don't think. I don't think it's Christian. Very often churches will say, come as you are. And the implication is, you'll maybe read some things from the Bible or whatever, and you might become convicted and choose to change some actions in your life when you choose to do them, but not show up before God as an imposter. See, when somebody lives a double life, it implies that they're being somebody else other than who they truly are in a different situation, right? But for us, we have to be not who we are within this organization. And when we say we lived a double life, it's kind of an attempt to be out on the sideline and maybe doing something we really have hoped to do and was forbidden to do. So we're actually attempting to be our authentic self on the outside, our double life. So our double life is really an attempt to be who we are. Isn't that?
Yeah, so it sounds less spiritual and less like the divine mind with all of this infinite diversity and all colors of the spectrum. And it sounds like, it just sounds like you're stripped of everything that is anti the divine nature because you now become like everybody else. What's the whole idea of diverse creation? Well, suddenly that loses impetus, doesn't it?
It really does.
It sounds more like a corporation.
Yes, it does. To be that well-oiled machine that functions very well.
Right, and what's the purpose? Avoid liability so we can increase gains in money and capitalism.
So they benefit more so from our labor than we do.
Yeah, brilliant. Brilliant if you think about it in a corporate way. John Marciano chips in, the organization expects its members to put on an organization personality, abandon your true personality, your true self.
Yes. And to be honest, this is what I encourage, to be your true self. To me, the more we become our true self, the more healing will happen as we develop who our true self is. We shed some of the doctrines that interrupted us being able to be our true self. And when we're ready, we shed some of them. Like when I look back at things, I was taught that if I just planted love, I'm going to get love back. But there were certain people I kept planting love in, and I was not getting love back. Okay.
Yeah,
what I was actually doing is positioning myself to be pooped on, okay? But that was labeled as being a godly wife.
Right.
What I didn't realize is I was actually sowing seeds of love on stony ground. So that the ground, the soil wasn't proper for the seeds that I gave. It wasn't going to grow, and I wasn't going to receive it back.
Yeah. Well, if you tell little Nancy that she must go up to Aunt Flora and hug her and tell her she loves her, and it's absolutely mandatory, well, you've removed the spontaneity of the love process, and it's become perfunctory. And Auntie Flora is able to become this oppressor because it's
Yes.
not deserved. It's not, it's not an earned respect. It's a demanded. So she can be as abusive as she wants to. That's
Which
the
I'm
formula.
going through this with my 15-year-old granddaughter. My daughter, who's her mother, will not force her to call me back or to answer my texts. I know she's a teenager and acting like a teenager. I want her to answer back my texts. I want her to answer the phone when I call her. But her mother isn't going to her and saying, your honey mom has called you and you must call her back. She's really put that boundary with me and I respect it, but I'm not enjoying it. My granddaughter is acting like a typical teenager. She doesn't want to be bothered with her grandmother. Okay? She just doesn't. She's a teenager. And my daughter's not forcing her. It's rude, yes. But it's still, my daughter's not forcing her to do that. Like you were talking about. You have to go over there and hug so-and-so. That's horrible.
Yeah, so it's respecting that the teenager is going through this development that's lousy, but we have the hopes that somewhere along the line there's going to be a realization and an appreciation for the relationships. And again, that's why it's so important that we sow with the best kind of ingredients so that there's this hope realized that the person now develops or matures in such a way that they can look at what grandma or honey mom sowed,
Right. See, we can't, therapists cannot diagnose a teenager or a child as a narcissist because that's what they're supposed to be. That's just what they naturally are. They're only thinking about themselves. That's part of their development stage. You know what I'm saying? You can't get it. So my granddaughter is acting like she's all about herself because that's a normal state she's going through,
Right.
But the love that I keep putting out, I know that it's not. I know that this time of her life isn't got the best foundation or ground for my seeds to really grow. But I'm still going to put them out there because of my choice and my love for her, But I also know she's going through that time of being a teenager. I think she's 15,
Sure.
16 right now. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. So, Linda James, what else is on your mind? When would you say that there was significant healing in your life, if you feel free to comment about that? I don't know how you feel about answering such a thing, or if that's too personal, or if it's just a work in progress. I think
it really is a work in progress. And when I really notice it is after I get triggered, which is never a good time. Okay. This is what triggered looks like for me. Somebody says something totally normal, and I'm upset, maybe crying, maybe yelling. I'm acting totally abnormal. I'm not acting my normal way. And I have to look at myself and go, what the hell is wrong? Why am I acting? And then I realize I'm being triggered. So I have to ask myself, what just happened for me to have this kind of triggered reaction? So I have to self-reflect for a while. And it's in that self-reflecting that I heal, because I usually can find it, what I'm relating it to. And it's usually something from my childhood. For instance, I have these pale blue eyes, right? So when I was a
Okay.
kid, the movie The Exorcist came out. I wasn't allowed to watch it, but the kids at school was calling me Linda Blair, which is the actress from that movie, The Exorcist. And they'd call me The Exorcist. Okay? I'm like in the 5th grade being called The Exorcist and Linda Blair. And this is from a
Dang.
movie I'm not allowed to watch. But why? Because I'm this pale white kid with dark wavy hair that has pale blue eyes. So her eyes became pale when she was demonized. Now, my mother used to call me a demonized bitch. So that was her thing. So between, like when my mom would get mad, so between the kids at school saying what they said and mom saying I'm a demonized bitch, I can remember being um, in my early 20s telling somebody, whatever you do, I was at church with him, don't lay your hands on me. And I'll tell you why. Because I was scared crapless that a demon was going to come flying out of me and I was going to be throwing up split pea soup kind of stuff. And that's ridiculous. But that's, you know,
The programming.
yes. So somebody could even say, oh my God, your eyes are so beautiful. Oh, they're so pale and blue, you know. That might
Right.
take me back to my memories of childhood when it was not such a good experience. Um, to no fault of their own, or the person maybe even complimenting.
Yeah, because now you jump towards it being disingenuous and you're now triggered because you take that as a lie. You don't believe
I
it.
no, I do believe they're giving me a compliment, but I'm relating it to a bad situation from my childhood.
Oh, okay.
So, so their intentions are decent. They're actually giving me a sincere compliment. And why didn't I receive it well? Because I'm associating it with these situations that happened to me as a child. So
Sure.
that's what
Wow.
I have to realize when I'm being triggered. When somebody says something totally normal, even a compliment, and I'm like pissed. I'm thinking, why am I so upset? Or I'm super sensitive. I might have to go off and cry. Why am I trying? So I have to reflect and figure out what is it that somebody just did, which is normal. They're being normal. They're not even trying to harass me or not even trying to abuse me. They're just being normal, and it's affecting me in a very traumatic
Right.
way. There I am, I'm triggered. So the more I realize these negative experiences I went through as a child, then I get to release and shed them
Okay.
and receive the compliments the next time somebody tells me how nice my eyes are because they're so pale and blue.
Right.
You know, they're how the uniqueness of them, and that is true. I don't have to associate it with what my mother used to call me, a demonized bitch. I don't have to associate it to the kids at school calling me Linda Blair and The Exorcist.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I like the idea of the healing aspect there, because look, not everybody is able to find a psychologist or some mental health professional or life coach, or a lot of persons are disenfranchised. I mean, one of the
Yes.
reasons why they can't pursue the legal justice system is they can't afford it and they can't risk it. And even if they did have the money, they could lose that. Now, if the whole idea is about pursuit of justice, it's to get healing. So I don't think a lot of persons have that access, because that was the reason behind the education idea, was that you've got disenfranchised people that are dependent. It's an
Yes.
awful
And
situation.
and if we're not able to vote, whatever your viewpoint is on voting, those that are those that do not vote within politics, um, government doesn't see us as having a voice. We're disenfranchised. If we vote whichever way we want to, we're actually considered as having a voice by the government. So this
Okay.
organization has told us that being neutral is more Christ-like because Christ was no part of the world, this, that, and the other, and we conscientiously was told that voting would be being part of the world. And so we, as a group, chose not to vote. Well, that put us in a place of being disenfranchised. Yet, when the organization wants us to all write a letter to Malawi or wherever, a certain
Sure.
government, that's called lobbying. And lobbying means that we would do something that would influence somebody in government to make a decision in the manner we would like them to go towards. We're actually influencing them because they're supposed to be serving us. If that mattered to them, that would work, which is why the organization tells us to write a letter to this government, that government, whatever government. And the organization also claims that we don't lobby.
Yes.
But,
Purple.
you know, a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses don't even realize they're lobbying.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Purple says lots of people can't afford a therapist and many insurance plans will not cover the cost.
Yes. So there are cult specialists who are therapists. One person is Rachel Bernstein. Another person is Stephen Hassan. There are other people as well. So as we're healing, if we start reading articles by people that may have left a cult or a high demand group or, a controversy group, yes, they might have believed things differently, but the things that they went through, we will identify with them because they were isolated. That's something we went through. Matter of fact, we actually self-isolated because of the way we were trained, okay? They might have been in a compound, a certain area where they all lived, or they might have been like we are, have been within society at large, but we've chosen to only associate with Jehovah's Witnesses. So that's a form of behavior control. So we might see that in somebody else's story. So I watch a channel called the Knitting Cult Lady, okay? She was raised within a group called The Family that actually started here in Southern California with David Berg, and they did flirty fishing and to recruit people. And unfortunately, it was a very toxic situation. He was setting something up to where children and adults could interact together as if they were all adults, okay? And he would write out these cartoons and stuff as if this was actually a way of worshiping Jesus. It was just mind fuck, okay? She wrote a book called Uncultured after she left, I believe it's Children of God. She then joined the army and realized how much the army was like the church she grew up in. So when you hear other people's stories and what they've left, you'll relate to their stories, even if it's from a different group. I also listen to a channel called Life Take Two, and that's a previous Mormon who speaks of her life as being an alt-right, very conservative, Christian nationalist, white supremacist person, and the way she thought she would was very different than how she thinks now, since she's left that church and even has become an unbeliever in the Bible and in God. So um, she has a story to tell too, and it's so fascinating when she says stuff like, "I was trained that we're the only true religion." That sounds familiar. That sounds really familiar, right? That's what we were taught. We're the only true religion, and those that are not Mormons or those that are not Jehovah's Witnesses are all going to be destroyed. That's how she was taught to look at people that were non-Mormons. So when you get a chance to listen to other people's stories, it's helpful too, as well as like when we get to listen to those that have experienced what we have within this organization.
Yeah. Purple chips in, the military does try to condition you to blindly obey, or to blindly obeying and never questioning anyone in authority over you.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
True. Linda James, how are we doing on the time? How long do you want to extend this? Are we going to go to what sort of time? I see.
We've gone almost 2 hours at this point. So anybody can make a suggestion in the comments or join us if there's a different subject you want to bring up, or what might be on your mind, what might have happened this last week. I'm willing to go there. Does anybody have anything on their mind?
Purple's chipped in, I would never make it through boot camp.
Me either.
Yeah.
Oh my God. No,
yeah.
I could not. Yeah, I'm not.
Linda James, I was thinking about this idea of accountability, transparent accountability, and I want to explore it sometime. I might do it on my own channel, not that I'm trying to plug my channel, but I'm trying to get my thoughts in line as respects, getting JW to be really accountable, or seeing that justice is served. But the more we get governments to check in on everything for security, we may lose our autonomy and we may lose the freedom to move around even more. So I don't know if this is a double-edged sword.
How would that affect us to be able to move around even more? Can you give me an example?
Yeah, so let's put it this way. Why is it that a government and big corporations can look into all of our data, but they can't stop CSA?
Yeah, good question.
Why isn't that happening? We've got these sophisticated AIs, but all we're doing is we're churning out jokes and memes and nonsense.
Yeah, I believe that what's going on within this organization is going on within many others as well. And this is my realm. This is my culture of origin. So I speak out about this group. Those that have been in the other groups, those whistleblowers, they can speak out. I don't know enough about their culture or whatever. So, yes, that could put us in a place of being harassed, being gang stalked. But the more we find out, for instance, if elders show up at our door and ask us certain questions, we've been trained to have a sense of obligation to answer to them and maybe even invite them in. In reality, we don't have to invite them in, and we don't have to answer their questions. That's a new concept for us. And we can set a boundary and tell them that we're not willing to speak to them because they showed up unannounced, or
Okay.
let them know that if they continue to show up, we can get a restraining order on them, which would make it to where they can't show up to our property or be near us for the next 6 months or so. These are things that I never knew before, when I was under the impression that I am to answer to elders. But
Right.
today, with my own wisdom, I can think differently.
Okay. John Marciano says, I gave up on the government on both sides. So maybe that's our lead into the next part of the discussion, because I want to ask, here's Purple, are they vampires? That they can't enter a home without an invitation. Okay, so I think that leads into the next thing, and you were asking me basically what do I mean. Let me try and clarify it, Linda James, and see if I can make it a little bit clearer. Here's the question. Is there a point whereby a legal system like Jehovah's Witnesses or similar, which expertly outmaneuvers and outmaneuvers, is eventually dealt with? Let's take Norway. Sweden's done the same thing, but Norway, they take it to a higher court and then it gets overturned, and we go, what the hell happened there? And we go, oh, it's going to go to the Supreme Court, but then many are saying, oh, don't even bother because we're going to lose there too. We're not going to get that justice. So my question is there a point whereby a legal system like Jehovah's Witnesses or any other kind of high control religious society or cult or political system just expertly outmaneuvers and outmaneuvers is eventually dealt with? Because it seems that in our experience, Jehovah's Witnesses, it's a sort of, as you say, laboratory experiment of where the legal system fails for justice, but is tolerated as part of the modern system, allowing for criminal elements to exist as a kind of societal tolerance so that life isn't impossible. In other words, the law recognizes that crime must exist because it's part of our human nature. Does that sound confusing?
I do hear what you're saying.
Okay, let me try and encapsulate it. So it's an unsettling question, I suppose, that I'm raising, because it's, what is it? It's an intersection of jurisprudence or sociology or moral philosophy, I suppose, like Socrates was trying to deal with. It touches on something that, I don't know, many thinkers quietly acknowledge, that law, justice are not synonymous, that some systems persist in this kind of weird thing where it reveals the limits of what laws reach, like what happened in Norway. And that's why persons are saying, oh, you know what, don't even bother Norway. Watchtower is just going to beat you at it anyway, because they've got such a sophisticated hold on the legal system. And so you've got, what is it, productive function of power. I don't know if you've ever heard of that one, where systems of control and even injustice are not necessarily accidents, but integral components of how society self-regulate, because it represents our darker human nature. Just as we have a light nature, there's a darker human nature as well. So a legal system, it's basically working within a democratic society as a way to tolerate a certain amount of crime, hypocrisy, and moral contradiction, because total enforcement would require tyranny.
I see. Okay. And see, I believe that groups should be able to have their own rules, gather as the way they want to, have their own doctrines. That falls under freedom of religion, Article 18 from the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. But when they're doing criminal activity, yes, there's been people that have spoken out. There's been people that have taken the organization to court, and it didn't always come out the way they intended. And some people get a gag order and paid off. But because I've seen where it was and where it has gone today, I'm actually inspired. I hear what you're saying. It's almost like, why bother? They're just going to be deceitful. They're going to be deceptive. They're going to lie to the countries, and they're going to get off without any consequences. And that
Right.
used to be more so the case, especially before 2000. That was the case a lot. But today, I've seen it go from there to where it is today. Today, countries are coming after them and telling this organization that they are to answer to them. So countries are taking them to court. Whereas before, like 2002, Barbara Anderson, William Bowen came out with a documentary, exposed certain things. Candace Conti was someone that was abused, and she took that to court. Then we heard of other independent people here and there that have taken the organization to court or the elders to court. Today, countries are making the organization answer to them, or else they won't get funding. I had no idea that the organization receives funding until the Australian Royal Commission. I'm like, what? Because they told us that the way that they get their money is from donations of their followers.
Right.
I never knew that governments give charities money at all, but today governments are having them answer to them. And people that do homework are able to cross-reference as they get ready for the next court date. So people become more equipped and more equipped and more equipped. So if somebody's weary and they're worn out and they don't want to do that anymore, hold the organization accountable, then definitely don't. Don't push yourself to do that, because it's, really unhealthy.
Sure.
But those that want to, yeah, go for it. Today, more people are wanting to than it used to be back 25 years ago. And because of the internet, the way it is today, the way we can get information today, it can be revealed to more people.
Sure.
I don't want anyone to have a childhood similar to mine.
Yeah.
You cannot pay me enough to go back to my childhood.
Jeez.
I've had friends who will talk to each other and speak of their childhood with fondness and the good times they had. I do not relate to this.
Yes.
Part of me growing up within this organization hopes that somebody else will not raise their kids that way, the way I ended up being raised. So I don't have this mindset of taking the organization down. I just want to make awareness possible and healing techniques possible and camaraderie. And if somebody wants to remain in the organization with the things that they've learned, that's their choice. But I believe it's have a more informed consent to go back. I think that's better, than the deceptive way the organization and other groups too will recruit people.
Purple says the entire point of a legal system is to protect people from other citizens' dark sides. Yes, sure.
Okay.
And then Purple goes on to say, funny how much it sounds like you're talking about the US Congress. The internet gives people access to far more information than any one person could find 20 years ago. And then Purple follows up, God, no, there's nothing you could offer me to relive any part of my life before I was
Yeah.
about 25.
Hmm.
So yeah, Linda James, I think some injustices are structurally tolerated to preserve the broader illusion of freedom. Because
Yes.
what is it? Certain powerful or insular entities like JW, which is our experience, act as, like you say, a test zone where it's an experiment. Law meets its ethical limits. Huh? It's a contained anomaly that exposes what the system cannot or will not address without unraveling its own premise.
Right.
That's why you say, oh, the medical side, it's an experiment. Well, guess what? The legal side is an experiment too, to see what it can do and where
Sure.
the flaws are.
Sure. That's
It does look that way, right?
hmm
I don't know.
Yes.
But does it
It's
look like a duck? Does it quack like a duck?
it might be a duck. Yeah.
It might just be a duck, yeah. So,
Yeah.
Linda James, how does this sound? Jehovah's Witnesses are a case study in legal immunity, we propose. I don't know. Are we conclusive? But it looks like Jehovah's Witnesses have had decades, 140, 14 decades, 140 years of litigation and legal refinement. Let's keep refining this. So I tell you what, if I was a criminal, I would go, well, let's go look at the prototype. Let's go look at JW for our get out of jail card, or how to keep operating for what might be called religious legal engineering. I'll set up a religion and I'll do the same thing. And why? Because JW has preemptively put up a structure or a set of policies that we've even been able to change the vocabulary to avoid statutory liability while we maintain control internally. Right? That's the whole theocratic hierarchy, the ecclesiastical privilege and voluntary association, the doctrines which function like a shadow jurisdiction. Let's go look at them and see how it's done. And that's why courts often refrain from interfering, because Western law treats religion as a semi-sovereign domain. That's
Yes.
what's happened. It safeguards the constitutional freedoms. How often are you taking a look at Constitution? I was hearing Pixie talking about Washington in the chat, I think when I came over, and this whole idea of the constitutional freedoms, which is plugged so much into every child at school. That becomes a political religion. That's what it is, essentially. So you're seeing, in a sense, a demonstration of what happens when a group masters loopholes of religious liberty and how it interweaves into the political structure, the creation of a mini-state within a state, legally protected but morally opaque. Right?
And that's what this organization is called, the earthly part of God's government, which is what the theocracy is.
Yeah, it's right in our face. So they go, well, sorry. In fact, no, sorry. You were too dumb to know what was going on. We told you, weren't you listening?
Yeah, somebody can tell us. But the thing about being in a cult is we have no idea we're in a cult when we're in a cult. It's bizarre, but it's the truth. Okay. So when somebody says you're just in a cult, unless we can understand why we're in a cult, it doesn't ring true to us until we've come up with confirmation that we're in a cult. It doesn't mean we're stupid. It doesn't mean we're dumb. As a matter of fact, when people say that about cult members of any kind, it infuriates me. Infuriates me. We were not dumb. We were not stupid. We were deceived. That's different. A rocket scientist can be deceived, and they are brilliant. Cults do not recruit those that can't function well. They want our labor. Okay? And another thing
Yeah.
I've noticed about cults too is those that I've looked into. They usually have FBI or CIA involved in these groups, kind of checking it out. They infiltrate their ways into it. So what happens with that? It anything can happen with that. So I don't even know where I was going with that, but I believe the
Tories.
government has more. Go ahead.
Yeah, I didn't want to derail your thought there, Linda, but I'd like to hear what you say when you've gathered your thoughts. But Tori Swanseger has said, or is addressing Purple, I think it's slimy as slimy gets that the individual that is currently in charge in the US is willing to allow their constituents to starve. Well, isn't that the system's awareness of its own paradox, right? So you get the argument that law itself is a moral compromise, that it knows it cannot eliminate wrongdoing, it only can contain it within tolerable bounds. And so that's echoed in criminology. I've got a pal that's a psychologist whose degree is in criminology, and it seems that every society requires some level of deviance to define and reaffirm its moral order, because total purity is unworkable. You can't move within that system. That becomes a totalitarian, impossible regime to be able to move in. And so an entity like JW persists, not despite the contradictions, but because they actually occupy a useful role.
Yes.
That's the experiment. Oh, this is useful. Why do we say that? Because it reveals how far freedom of religion can stretch before it actually breaks. I think we are reaching the breaking point. I think that's what we're seeing in all of these countries like Japan or Sweden or Norway. It's serving as a stress test for the judiciary boundaries between conscience, authority, and public safety. And I think the public safety is where the outrage is coming, which is forcing the change.
Yes.
Yes, we get disappointed. Sorry, Linda.
I'm seeing it within the organization that we're familiar with, and then the government of the United States. I'm watching that happen in both of these areas. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. Okay. So what's happening? It's keeping alive the ancient dialectic between legal order and moral chaos, which is again a reflection of our human nature. It's both necessary, and I'm going to use this word, evolution, in the sense of development or spiritual ascension. I think that's maybe, that's acceptable to say spiritual ascension. Why? Because that's development. Right? Am I making sense, or I'm losing the plot?
You are making sense, yes. Yes, you are.
Okay. So can I ask you this one? And I don't want to put you on the spot. But when does the system finally respond? What do we see historically?
When will the system finally respond? That's your question? I'm not even sure what that would look like.
Okay, so what about looking at history? Does it move when there's moral consensus that shifts? We saw something happen in France. Frère Mercier and the elders that he gathers disfellowship the governing body. What is it? French, vive la révolution. Why? Tolerance of harm becomes a reputational existential risk to the state itself. He goes, no, hang on, what did you guys do? I'm going to plug the vaccination thing because it was unsafe for this one or this one or this one, which were investments within the organization, which if the organization didn't plug them, they were going to lose money. That's what it looks like.
Yes.
I don't know. The Catholic Church's abuse crisis eventually forced global legal adaptation because people could no longer tolerate the CSA, and that forced your mandatory reporting laws, your civil suits, your compensation schemes, And I suppose people, instead of trying JW, they try the individual. They say, oh, this elder, that was leading this thing was the problem. I'm going to try him. I'm not going to make this about JW. I'm going to try him as an individual because that's your corrupt, lousy, stinking element that's causing the rot that as a perpetrator. And I think that's the pressure that's coming in, and that's creating the shift and going ding, 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 international human rights, ding, 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 hello. Please recognize the psychological coercion and the spiritual abuse that's leading to these forms of violence.
Yes.
Like what happened with, in your
and it
family.
might have even been, go ahead, what happened with my friend?
Yeah, on the bus. You were telling us the story about.
Oh, that was my daughter, yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
my daughter. Somebody came after her. And so I became...
Three years imprisonment.
Yeah, so I turned into
Okay.
CSI and got as much information on this person as possible. So when I went to the police department, I handed over all this information, told them what happened, and they took it from there. And I would keep calling him, and he's like, ma'am, you may call me once a week. Because I was calling him too much.
Yeah.
I'm like, where are we at in the, and he had to kind of calm me down. But I also sent somebody to his home in the middle of the night to threaten him.
Okay. So this is Linda James' proactive section of the channel. Purple says the entire thing about vaccinations causing autism was started by Andrew Wakefield. He was trying to discredit the MMR vaccine that was being widely used at the time. Very interesting. He was heavily invested in a company making a competing vaccine. Oh, so we have money talks. That's no lie. Very, very interesting. So follow the money again.
You were just mentioning about some people that disfellowship the governing body. This was on a video that Kim and Mikey put out about these certain elders. Were they in France? They went through the procedures and said that they've disfellowshipped the governing body.
Yeah.
Was this legal? Was it in fact the case or not? I don't know. But to me, like when I was talking earlier about doing things that are ritualistic, that might have been something that if they go through the actions, it makes them feel better. So some people might visualize or do things like burn a book that sometimes people will burn Jehovah's Witness literature. So that's kind of a ritualistic thing to do. Or let's say they wrote a letter to somebody that used to abuse them, and they don't give that letter to that person. They actually throw it in the fire. That's a ritualistic move that helps you feel better. That may have been the case, but they related it to the sense of obligation that the governing body put on their followers to receive that vaccine, and it was very much pushed, and it happened in other areas too, corporations and places where people worked, and like dehydrated nurses here. She went through like months and months and months of caring for her patients, and then it came to a place of they would not let her work there any longer. And unfortunately, she had been like healthy for years, just years, a very healthy person. She got a tetanus shot like 25 years ago, had a horrible allergic reaction to it. She got down to having to take the vaccine to keep her job. She had a horrible reaction to it.
Damn.
And it really affected her negatively. And this has also happened to other people. Some people it doesn't, but it needs to, I believe it needs to be of our choice rather than being coerced from our religion, our job. At the same time, different groups can have that position of the environment they're trying to create within that group that works under that.
Right.
I'm of two minds, you know.
Sure. Well, purple brings in that this is it Andrew Wakefield. Have I got it right? Andrew Wakefield said had his license to practice as a doctor revoked because he falsified the findings of his research.
I remember reading about this person, yes.
Yeah, and then purple ends of fire is commonly used in ritualistic cleansings. But then that leads us to this idea of when does the system finally respond? I think that's what purple's talking about. Why did that happen, that the license to practice as a doctor was revoked? Well, I suppose historically law only moves when a moral consensus shifts, right? So when tolerance of harm becomes a reputational or existential risk to the state itself, then it goes, no, we're forced to change this thing. Catholic Church, prime example. Why? The abuse crisis eventually forced global legal adaptation. The mandatory reporting laws come in, the civil suits, the compensation schemes, those come in. And I think the hope is that similar shifts are occurring when we see all of these different countries responding within the JW situation, because human rights frameworks are beginning to recognize, like Norway, psychological coercion and spiritual abuse as forms of violence. This is psychological violence. But yes, what has it taken to get there? Laws reacted very, very slowly. Yes. We haven't always had the information available. We haven't always had the internet linking us all together. Take a look at what Rick Farron tells us about how things were 20 years ago. He says, gee, things are really sad, 20 years ago. He felt like he was on his own, right?
Yes.
So only after the system's victims have already paid the moral price, and you're going, well, how many ex-JWs are there? Are there 8 million, 9 million, 18 million? I don't know what the figure is. What's the estimated figure? It's huge.
Yeah, 7,000 or 8,000. So, I'm not sure. XJW Reddit might have an amount there.
Yeah, or I don't know. Rick's been talking about 54 billion in assets. I thought it was something like 8 to 15 billion. I don't know. So to hear 54 billion is kind of mind-blowing. But okay, right, whatever the case. I think the deeper insight is our intuition's going ding, ding. The law recognizes crime must exist as much as humans exist because that's our nature, this dualistic nature, dark side, light side. Is it profoundly accurate? Okay, let's put it on the table and say, let's have this examined, because in theological terms or existential terms, one might say, look, the law is not built to end evil. It's not what it's there for. It's there to contain it in its forms that civilization can live with, so that the village or the global village can actually exist, so that we can have children, we can have families, we can continue the human experience. And so when you, Linda James, you talk about, this is a laboratory experiment, be it, what is it, the medical side or the legal side as an experiment, it's a mirror. We don't like looking at it because we say, oh, well, this has got my lousy side, or it's got my embarrassments in life. The witness organization, like certain corporations or states, it shows how power behaves when it becomes perfectly adapted to the rule of law without being ruled by it. I don't know. That's my best take. That's my theoretical essay. I don't know if that reflects how you feel, but that's what I hear when you talk about it being this experiment, or you say, oh, I feel inclined to saying this is an experiment. Let's title it The Tolerated Injustice, Law, Freedom, and the Theocratic Exception, or tie it into legal theory, theology, and our lived insight from being Jehovah's Witnesses or our terrible childhood, like you were talking about and saying, I wouldn't want to go back. Yeah, these are our personal reflections. I think these are our scholarly pieces that we are recording in these videos. I'd like to hope that that's what's going on.
It is. That's what I think, yeah.
I don't know how much overtime we're doing here, Linda. Have we really gone in?
We're good.
Hey?
We're good. We're at the 2 hours and 21 minutes. So in about 40 minutes, we can close down. Or if you need to leave early because you're tired, I'm fine with that too. But I like the way you evaluate things, and I do promote your channel. I enjoy the videos you put up, and I'm watching you go from one level to another very naturally, and it's very encouraging to me.
Well, thank you for that, because I call this my polyphrenia. And I don't know if that's happened because of trauma or what, but I'd like to believe that our polyphrenia is actually our human functioning. It's actually not a dysfunction, and it's not pathological. It should actually be something that is within a normal, healthy human, that we can adapt into these various modes. If it calls upon, I need to be a motherly figure, I should be able to tap into that. If I need to be a healer, I need to be able to tap into that. If I'm an actor, I'll be an actor. If I'm a fireman, I'm a fireman, or a fire person, or, whatever's needed for the time. That's polyphrenia. You're going, well, I adapt to the situation. That's the flexibility I should have in a normal, healthy, functioning mind. I think, I don't want to, who is it? There was somebody with Oprah Winfrey. Who is it? Jean Houston. Jean Houston of the Human Potential Movement talks about polyphrenia.
Okay.
So, yeah, thank you very much for that, Linda James. I'll take that positively. And I don't know. I just go, this has got to be plugged, because there's so many people that have been harmed by these things. What are we doing? Are we moving towards greater awareness? I think when we've been disempowered so much, maybe that's the weapon against evil. I think that's the choice that we make in coming together in these kind of discussions.
It could be, yeah.
I don't know if I drowned out your thoughts. That's not my intention.
Was Jean Houston a male or female?
Female. She's brilliant. Okay. She's still going. Jean Houston. Oh, you're looking her up, eh?
Yes.
Okay, Jean Houston, American author. She's 88 years of age.
Yes.
PhD. I wonder, can I post a link?
Yes, you can.
I've got the Wikipedia. Okay, let me do that. Will it accept it? Okay, there we go. It's gone into the chat.
American author involved in the Human Potential Movement, yes, along with her husband, Robert Masters.
Yeah.
Is Robert Masters related to Roy Masters?
Ooh, good question. Don't know. Oh, but I can tell you something about Jean. I can tell you something. Okay, so if you met Jean Houston, Linda James, she could put you into a state of deep relaxation. Some might call that hypnotic, but she could put you into a state of deep relaxation. Look at all of your traumas. Oh, and amplify your singing ability. tell you you're the greatest singer on the planet and make you believe it. And you'd get up and you know what would happen? Your singing would be polished to a new degree that you're seeing yourself on YouTube and going, what's this? What's happening here? So whatever blockages, yeah, they do this with pianists. There's somebody plinka, 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 plink on the piano. Have a session with Gene Houston and amplifies you using the human potential movement information that they've gathered. And the person's bringing in this incredible piece where they're all over the keys. These are the results that are coming out. You're going, what is happening? And it's unlocking persons' various abilities in incredible ways.
Yeah, I'm going to check her out after the show. If you want to share more about her, I'm good with that. So, but what I'm noticing when I watch you in your videos where you just kind of freestyle, talk about different things, is I'm watching you rewire your brain from a way of thinking to a new way of thinking, but it's happening organically, not forced. I don't experience you as being forced to think any differently. It's like you're coming up with these conclusions on your own timing. And that's very enjoyable for me to watch. And the fact that you're sharing it is, I'll be real honest, it's a privilege to get to see happen. Yeah, so thank you. Because you're being
for that feedback. In that time. Because I don't know how I sound. I don't know how it's coming through. I don't know if I'm sitting there like a lunatic or what. You know what happened to me? I had my brain cooked. My brain was deep fried because I'd lost oxygen. I did. I went into hypoxia and was going blind and lost my hearing and could barely talk. You're talking with me now. It's only fairly recently I've only started talking. I was relying on that AI. I have mentioned this to you before. Eh? I was relying on that to get my message out in some, these funny little songs that I was doing in AI.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Okay. So that was your voice.
Yeah, I couldn't talk.
Voice at the time. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I've got a nephew. Yeah, I've got a nephew, Max. And he has no idea about his uncle. And I was prepared to die. I was going, oh, this is it. I'm hallucinating and I'm having timeless experiences and paralyzed on the couch. And it's like 1,000 years has just washed over me, or I've had 1,000 deaths. And it's my brain going, try and breathe, not getting the oxygen because it's in this terrible trauma or having this trauma through, yes, underlying conditions, but also the terrible coercion that's coming through from a congregation that's gone into this defensive mode. And right. I wasn't afraid. I'm going, I'm clocking out. I've lived my life. Cheers, guys. Bye. I'm not afraid
I remember you saying that. Yeah, like you were all too fine. You were ready to, if this is your time, this is your time. I remember you saying that.
Yeah. And so when you see all these little songs that have been done, I was just going, no, that's the facility. I'm going to write this song and I'm going to get this facility that's emerging, this AI or these various tools or Audacity and loops and things like this and string them all together to try and make something that's coherent. And that was how that emerged.
Okay. That's very cool. And yeah, so in my mind, you're right where you're supposed to be in your placement of healing. And I feel like I get to have a side seat that you're allowing me to watch your growth. And it's enjoyable to watch. It's exciting actually for me to watch. Even when you're mind boggled, when you're like this, even when there's times when you feel like your brain's going to kind of blow a fuse or something, you manage to get through it. and it's enjoyable to watch. And I've been seeing comments that are left for you under videos, and people are saying things like they identify with you, they have a sense of closeness with you.
Huh.
They look forward to meeting you someday in person. Like, I'm going, oh my. So you're having a connection with people that you don't even realize you're causing. And
No, I don't know. I don't know any of this stuff. This is like news to me. I'm thinking, geez, it's going into
oh
it's
no.
very, very small. I'm looking at Purple. Matthew, glad you found a good way to express yourself. You're broken. It's enjoyable to watch. That sounds something like a sadist would say. But Purple also says your species has yet to reach its true potential. Let us hope you can obtain it before destroying yourself. So Purple is channeling from the ETs or the others that are out there in orbit. That's what it sounds like. Linda James, I wanted to say, I'm learning a lot from you. I'm learning a lot from like Dallas.
Yes.
Chipping in. Who's another one? Grow knows this. But I'm tapping in Purple. I go, yes, you already together on so much stuff. But I asked Rick Ferrer.
Mm-hmm.
I said, how did you get through this? And he was talking about, he put a little recorder or he cut out a watchtower and shoved a recorder in for his tribunal with the elders. And they found it, and he says, oh, are you threatened by this? And he dismantled it. But he had another one there, recorded it. I'll tell you what I took away from that, because I recorded everything. I've been recording things for years, but I'm going, well, number one, I had to transcribe, because I go, you can't just record things because that's going to create a problem. But I've learned about having an evidential verification board or evidential verification facility that specializes legally in saying, okay, well, let's take your information without you just plastering it all over YouTube, and now voices are there and names are there, and you're going to create another problem for yourself, because if you're up against this huge legal body that's incredibly sophisticated, they're going to blast you into powder. Okay? So, but now with Rick's experience, I think somebody said, oh, Rick, where is it on YouTube that you recorded things? And he's going, oh, no, it's over here, or it's on another website or something like this, which stands to reason. And I took that home and put it into the bank. And I said, right, what Rick just told us, he's put something in code here, okay? He's actually making it fairly obvious. Be bloody careful with this thing. He says, oh yeah, he got 1 million views. So the temptation is, I'd like my YouTube channel to blow up to this incredible proportion. No, wait a second. What's the whole motive? The whole motive is being protective of people. Don't lose sight of what your main mission is. Your main mission isn't, okay, it is to get 1 million views because that's incorporated into the mission. So it's an unselfish thing.
It gets it out there, yeah. The message.
But the main mission is the motive is it's freeing up people, getting an education out. Yeah. So I learned about the verification board this week, or was reminded of that, of saying, okay, well, you need to have a legal instrumentality that says, oh, let's take a look at your letters with all of the names and things like this. This is done within an approved police system or an approved legal system, that you can't be accused that you were reckless with that information and you plastered it all over social media in a reckless way. And now you're open towards further litigation or a lawsuit because you defamed characters. Because if they get out and they go, oh, no, we've got some sneaky way of finding loopholes within things, which we have seen over the years, they are experts at doing. Hell, you're in for even a worse time. Further abuse. You're getting more abuse from the abusers, because that's what they've proven to be. They've proven to be expert abusers. Why am I now facilitating into abuse? So I think it's taking information from persons in the community like Rick, who's been there, done that for 20 years and said, oh, this is what I did for my own state of mind. And it was the birth of Six Screens, which is this incredible healing network. And looking at what he did right and going, okay, well, here's another one. It's not like there's no evidence. There is evidence, but we've got to be careful with it. You know? And I think that's very, very valuable. And that only comes by coming together with persons and getting chats and all of that.
It's confirmation. Yes.
Confirmation, and also the ability to think. And you saying, oh, Matt, you're working it out. The only reason why I'm working it out is because of the community. I was dying on my own. I was isolated, dying, and resigned to die. I was going, I'm out of here, clocking out. Bye.
Well, you're very alive today. You're very alive, and it's very enjoyable to watch you. You know, and I know you have the side of you that I don't even understand, and I enjoy watching that too. And I don't even understand it. It's like, you know, it's watching you develop in a way that is your way. You know, it's the way you're supposed to be doing your development, and it's just really encouraging for me to watch, and to not. And I'm also not directing you all that much. I'm not pushing you to a certain way or another way, or, you know what I'm saying? I'm just like, I'm here sitting with you, and I get to watch, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it.
Well, thanks for that, Linda James. I'm relying on you, because I look at this and I go, Linda James, you've been doing this consistently for how long? So you've built up a hell of a lot of experience. You've built up a hell of a lot of psychology by having to go to the books. Why? Because you're right on the front line of, yes, sorting yourself out, but it's not just yourself. It also includes community as well. It's our village. It's persons who're surviving. It's people in the chats. It's people in the Six Screens or the network or the affiliate networks. And current Jehovah's Witnesses that whether they PMO or don't even know.
Yeah.
Because hell, if we don't get this right, we are going to cut this planet in half. Like, what is it? Like Purple says, my species is a signatory of the Galactic Alliance. Yes, I believe it. I hear that in the way you talk. I was only supposed to be here to finish my thesis on space flight cultures. Yeah. You don't need to convince me, Purple. I hear you.
This is sci-fi stuff that I don't even relate to, but I dig watching and listening to people speak this way because it's their thing, you know? It's their thing. And I think it's awesome. I was, I forgot what I was going to say, but basically you're right where you're supposed to be. And I believe most of us are. And it gets better the more we go along. For me, I needed to know what the hell happened to me. And the more I got to learn, the more I got to connect the dots. So this happens because this happened, or they do this because of this. And it seemed like, a matter of fact, I put up a meme this week on Facebook where it shows this guy who has all these strings with all these little notes on this board, like all the strings are going to a thumbtack here and a thumbtack there, and he's trying to, and it says explaining the Watchtower to ordinary people or to normal people. It's like it's unfathomable to most people within society at large. The gymnastics, the mental gymnastics we went through to try to make sense of 1914? Really? It's like, okay. But when we didn't understand it, we trusted that that must be true. So we just received it, even when we didn't understand it. But today we can we can rely on our own reasoning skills more so today, because it puts us in a position of becoming more independent, and I don't think that that's a bad thing. I think it's unhealthy for us to become dependent upon someone else, to where they have control over us. If we're dependent upon, a spouse or a family member, they're all too happy to do that. That's another thing. But if they hold that place of power or authority over us because we need them and they abuse us, then that's dangerous. But family love and obligation will kick in and come naturally. I hope I'm making this make sense. It's a different thing. He's not heavy because he's my brother. It's like that. It's like that. Yeah. So we're gonna shut down in about 15 minutes.
I got that song. Okay. Do you want time to wrap up with wise words from Linda James? I've got a song called. Thank you. I've got a song, Mental Gymnastics. Did you ever see that?
No.
There's a song that's on my channel called Mental Gymnastics.
Oh, what a great idea. John said, Matthew, you should show your paintings one night. Oh, that's kind of like having what is that called when people have all their paintings up? A showing.
Exhibition.
Yeah. Think about how if you want to do something like that, how you can orchestrate that. And maybe do it on your channel sometime, or I can have you do it here. That's a great idea. Thank you, John.
Thank you very much.
I keep telling them that I'm going to sing. And guess what, guys? I have the coolest thing to show you.
Yeah. So you're going to sing and I'm going to slap paintings up. How about that? I don't know. What's That's Purple right. going to bring to the party? And Bob, for that matter. And John. Hey, got a few here. So listen.
So remember I said I went. Go ahead. Remember I said
all yours, Linda James.
Thank you. Remember I said I went to the XJW get together a couple of weekends ago, and my adopted daughter came and picked me up and took me. Well, this was in the front seat of her car, and I said I want it. She let me have it, and it's this microphone that I can turn on, and it has a bit of an echo. So I can put on some karaoke YouTube music and I can sing, and it has a bit of an echo to it. So it gives me a fuller voice.
That sounds good.
Yeah, isn't that fun?
I like it a lot.
So yes, I have a very, very cool microphone. So I have to play with it more so that I can one day sing some songs. Because every so often I break into song just naturally.
Yes.
But I plan on doing it on purpose. But this was somebody that has been in my life since she was 15, and she's now like 39 or 40. But when I said I want this, I got to have it. So I dare say I'm spoiled, because back when they were, like, she was best friends with my oldest daughter, if they asked for some money or wanted to go to someplace to get something, I'm like, and why should I do this? And I trained them to say, because you love us and we're spoiled. That's why you're going to do it. So I dare say I got this microphone because she loves me and I'm spoiled. So that's what that's about. I'm trying to turn it off. Okay.
So Bob Roberts says, I'll spout legal jargon because that's all I have at the moment. Sounds pretty good. We need it. Purple. Linda
He-
James, maybe
he's
you
actually
do a
going
show
to-
and tell segment. Each
Please
week, a
repeat that.
different person can show off their hobby.
I like that. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, okay. Linda James, I'm going to ask permission, please. A no is a no, a yes is a yes, and that's all fine. I've got a link to that little crazy song of mine called Mental Gymnastics. Can I put it in the comments?
Yeah, if we played it, I might get a copyright strike. So yeah, definitely put it in the comments so that
Oh,
we can individually.
is that what happens if you play it? It bombs you out.
It might, YouTube might give me a strike
Okay.
or something.
So look, folks, there's the disclaimer. Anybody who's interested, you can have a look at it. Just be careful of copyright strikes or however it works.
Well, yeah, whenever they want to listen to it, that's good. But I shouldn't play it on my show right here with us right now. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's a thing with YouTube. And what you're sharing about this organization is for the purpose of education and your opinion. Okay. The same thing with me. So I don't think it's slander. If that's how you experienced it, something, that's how you experienced it. When we leave the organization or they disfellowship us, do they not slander us by saying things such as we are mentally diseased and we are considered as leaving God and joining the devil in the system of things that is being ruled by the devil? Or we are part of the evil slave task. Is this not a smear campaign as well? Two can play that game.
Well, I tell you what, as for the slander and this libel, I'm very encouraged that you got Bob Roberts here. It says 3 more years and I'll be a lawyer for real. So Bob, you know all the story with all the lousy, crappy, nasty, flippant stuff that's been happening, and yeah, hell, your skills are needed, eh?
This
Really?
man, his brother was abused very badly, okay, and he kind of left the organization for a while, and then an elder told. He got to a place where he reacted back to the abuse he was receiving, and an elder told his brother, you know, we can file charges on you unless you come back to the organization, because if you come back to the organization, we don't take our brothers to court. And he went back.
Okay, I agree with that, because somebody who's an abuser ain't my brother.
Thank you. The reason I'm talking about this is this man knows the abuse of this organization and the atrocities that have happened. And he plans on being helpful within the ex-Jehovah's Witness community, and maybe he might take a different route after lawyer school, but his whole intention to go in the first place is so that he can help Jehovah's Witnesses or previous Jehovah's Witnesses. I'm hoping that's possible, but you know, he might have to be another lawyer for a while. I don't know how it all goes.
Well,
he's been working very hard for a few years.
Yeah, well, whatever Bob's path is, if it's to help JW or if it's to go another path, I think it's all positive. You can't go wrong because you've been empowered to do something. You followed a passion somehow, or you followed a need, or this thing has become available, and it's progress. It's progress one way or another. whether it's helping for this sector or it's helping for that sector. I think it all adds up. And I think a lot of lawyers, even well-informed ones like at ARC, the ARC, Australia Royal Commission, even though they were well-informed, you see where they got tripped up on nuances, eh?
Yes, and
ARC is considered successful, but actually it could have been a lot better.
It was an inquiry, so it wasn't a situation where it's a court situation and somebody would be found guilty or innocent. It was an inquiry, so they were asking how the procedures are done in this certain area of CSA, and they had a lot of people answer to them. Even the lawyer from the Catholic Church realized when she was being questioned that the organization deceived her. And she's being questioned going, oh my God. I mean, I remember that look on her face like, oh my God, I've been duped. The organization hired me to stand up for them, and they're not worthy of being standing up for. That was a moment. But Bob Roberts is like a brother to me, a younger brother. And I'm looking forward to the time that he can be a lawyer, but at the same time, this determination that he's going through right now is just really inspiring.
Oh, that's very cool. Linda James, I'm going to say it's good night your side. I'm going to say good night to everybody that's tuned in, and thank you very much for all the support and all the compliments that have been flying around. Thank you very, very much. I see the encouragement and I appreciate it. And yes, it lands. So thank you very, very much. I'm humbled by it, but I'm also energized as well at the same time. So thank you very, very much. And looking forward to your wise words in closing, Linda James. And thank you very much for being a gracious host and for your welcome and allowing me to come and share the interchange and the healing process, or wherever it is that I am. Thank you very, very much. I really appreciate that.
Thank you. And I hope you sleep well. So basically, to end things off tonight, I just want to thank people for showing up tonight and listening to the show. The ones that are in the chat, how you've spoken to one another. I think it's the coolest thing when I get to re-look at the chat and watch how you guys are interacting amongst each other and with the show. It's really encouraging and it's really neat to see. I go through my week and I love my life, as boring as it is. It's calm, it's peaceful, and I don't take on too much to do. And I like my life that way. And I'm being creative and I'm making things from, it's called upcycling. So I take things and recycle them and turn them into jewelry or different things. And I'm enjoying that. So I'm getting to be my gift, which is being an artist. So I just want to encourage you to do things that you enjoy. Pursue things that you're attracted to, and take time to do some self-care as well. We have the holidays coming up. There's things within the government here in the United States that some of it feels very defeating or confusing. So take time and give yourself some self-care, which could be a bubble bath. It could be maybe giving yourself a pedicure, maybe giving yourself a manicure, taking a walk at the park, or spending time with your animals. Whatever it is for you that you find edifying for yourself, that gives you peace. Holidays are always stressful, so let's think ahead how we're going to counteract the stress. And I really enjoy doing these shows every weekend. It's truly the highlight of my week. And I just want to say thank you for being here, and those that decide to watch this later when you re-listen to it. Thank you for showing up and listening in. And I will see you next weekend. This is Apasta Baby, your favorite apostate. I will talk with you next weekend.
I never made it, but I know